Tales from the Night Shift. My terrifying encounter. I work the night shift at a small convenience store in my neighborhood. It's your typical place selling snacks, drinks, milk, and bread. The usual stuff people don't want to go to a big grocery store for. The nights can get slow, and aside from the occasional visitor, I often find myself alone for long stretches. I usually keep myself busy with a book or some videos. I'm supposed to clean the store during these quiet periods, and I do, but it doesn't take long. By 1 or 2 a.m., I'm done with my chores and settle in with a novel or surfing the web. That night was like any other. It was slow, and the store was quiet. I was engrossed in my favorite Stephen King book, when a sudden thud from the inventory room startled me. I glanced at the digital clock on the counter. It was 3:12 a.m. I figured something had just fallen off a shelf. Despite trying to brush it off, a chill ran down my spine. I looked outside and saw thick fog enveloping everything. There's a lake across the street, and fog isn't uncommon, but I couldn't recall it ever being this dense. It felt like something was out there watching me. I couldn't shake the feeling. Fear rooted me to my spot at the register. I knew I should check the back room, but I couldn't move. My eyes were glued to the glass front door, straining to see through the fog. I was convinced if I looked away, something would rush in. My heart pounded, and I broke out in a cold sweat. Then I saw them. 2 pinpricks of light cutting through the fog. Panic surged through me as a figure approached the door. I half ducked behind the counter, my hand searching for the panic button when the door swung open. A burly man in a green jacket and black pants walked in, looking amused. "Hey, mister, you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." I sighed, relief washing over me. "Yeah, sorry. You just startled me. Couldn't see with all that fog out there." "Yeah, it's pretty thick. Makes you think strange thoughts," he said, looking a bit uneasy himself. I forced a laugh. "Right, I thought someone was out there. Guess it was you." He nodded. "And then it's nights like this that make you think." There was something unsettling about his serious tone. He stared at the back room door, making me uneasy. I hadn't investigated the noise yet, and his blank look wasn't helping. Breaking the silence, I asked, "Think about what?" He smiled, showing a toothy grin. "Life, death, and all the moments in between. I try not to think about those too much. Who can really know?" "Anyone can, if they're willing to pay the right price," he said, a hungry look in his eyes. "You might be right, but there's always a price for knowledge. Look at Adam and Eve. We're still paying for that." "True, but how does one live without knowing the reason for existence?" he asked. "We do best with what we have in front of us." "And damn the truth?" he replied. "What truth? No one's truth is the same. Many claim to know, but it's just hot air. Just because many lie doesn't mean truth doesn't exist," he said. "Does there have to be a singular truth? Can't something be true for one and not for another? Truth must be universal, or it's not truth. It's just a solution. Are you content with solutions rather than true knowledge?" "Of course, I'd prefer universal knowledge, but who knows such truth?" "If I claimed to know, what would you say?" "I'd say you're either insane or a liar." He smiled. "I am neither. Look and see for yourself." He stepped into the light, and I saw his face clearly for the first time. A hawkish nose, a jumble of wrinkles, and a scar from his nose to his jawline. But his eyes, black as tar, drew me in. A light shone in his pupils, pulsing and beckoning. I felt my soul being pulled towards it, captivated by its beauty. I wanted to follow it, despite the consequences. Another crash from the back room snapped me out of it. I looked away, disoriented. The man seemed just as shocked, his eyes drilling into me. I pressed the panic button under the counter, not daring to look at him again. Finally, he glanced at his watch. "The tie-in is nearly here." He turned and walked out, disappearing into the fog. One moment he was there, the next he wasn't. To this day, I don't know what I saw that night. There are things in the dark that we know nothing about. I now work in the safety of daylight. I watched the security footage once. The door opens and closes, but no man can be seen. I talk to thin air. In the back room, a box of sodas falls, followed by a metal rack toppling over. I don't know what saved my life, but I'm still here. Some answers aren't worth the price.